So good afternoon. I am really very pleased to see so many of you here on a Friday afternoon. Thank you so much for coming. I try to find days and times where I think the majority of people might be able to come, and some people get off work a little bit early on Fridays, and that makes it doable. And then of course, the beginning of the class, it's good to do it as early in the week as possible so I can jumpstart you and get you going. And here we are at week 7 with your almost last major assignment anyway, due on Sunday. So what I want to start with is just walking through that assignment with you. Also talk to you about the very brief reflection assignment that's due on Tuesday. And then we'll get into the top tips for interviewing. So without any delay, you have an interview assignment due on Sunday. The interview assignment is designed to help you tease through the differences between family communication and workplace communication. Sometimes those things interweave and sometimes they don't. As we've learned from early in the class, we have different contexts in which we communicate. So let's see where they're really different and let's see where they're very much the same. So when you download this assignment, you will see that you have 2 sets of questions. They're nearly identical. One set needs to be asked to someone who's in a family. They can be someone in your family or just someone else who has a family, like a friend. And then you're going to do a workplace interview. So I'm super flexible. If your family member also happens to work in a workplace and you want to ask them the questions, go for it. If you have another friend that works in a workplace and you want to ask them the questions, that's fine with me. If you have a coworker that you're comfortable enough with asking the questions, that's fine too. And just like the first assignment, if you're like, I don't want to dive into any personal information at all, make it up. If you have a favorite TV show that you like or a movie, or you just have this persona rambling around in your head that you just want to get on paper, that's fine too. Just, make it up, answer it from their perspective. The big deal is being able to answer these questions. You'll notice at the top, it has this word record. Can you see that highlighted? Well, yes. Anyway, it says record the responses. So record should not be interpreted as video. Please do not submit any videos. I would really like for you just to write it down. So if you take the piece of paper and you handwrite it, send me pictures of it or scan it in, or you can type in the answers to the questions. So please do not send any videos. They will be very long and I will not listen to them, in all honesty. I'll be like, oh yeah, they did the interview, good. And then, that stinks. So make sure that you write it down. Now let's get
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
All right. So you said this is due on Sunday?
Mm-hmm. No.
Okay. Oh,
no,
okay, because it
March
shows
13th.
week 7. Okay.
I'm so sorry.
I got it. I heard Sunday and I'm looking, it says week 7.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. Clearly I am confused with another class, but everyone can take a deep breath and realize that this is not due on Sunday. It is due on March 13th. So you got 2 weeks. Yay.
All right. Perfect. Thank you.
Is it Friday yet? Okay. Good. Thank you for doing that. March 13th, deep breath, but it's good that we're covering this so that you are prepared and you can start early. Because I thought that was weird when I was like, have you started the assignment yet? Everyone's like, no. Okay, that's why. So let's scroll down. After you do your interviews, you're going to take a moment to compare and contrast. So you need 8 bullet points. I will count to see if you have them, just comparing what is the same in the interviews and what is different in the interviews. So 8 bullet points. And then here in the analysis is where you really, really get to show off your skills and show off everything that you've learned so far. So in about a week or two, more like a week, I'm going to post a video that walks through communication patterns. It's the same stuff that's in your textbook, but it's easier to narrow it down, I think, if I can walk you through it. So be looking for that. Based on the learning in this course, what advice would you give to your family member to improve interpersonal communication? So this is a question that is asking you to give your opinion. However, you have to base it on concepts for the course. So I need to see at least a solid paragraph written providing advice based in concepts. So that means I need to see concepts from the course applied to what you're telling the person that you interviewed. If you think they're doing great, offer concepts in the way of encouragement. The big deal, as I said early in the course, is just it's learning. I need to see your ability to apply the concepts. Okay, so any questions about the interview assignment due on March 13th? No? Okay, good. So now let me just show you.
I have one question.
Yes.
When we are explaining the concepts, do we have to do the definitions for the concepts just like we did before?
Yeah, it's a best
writing
practice.
Format. Okay.
It really is. Yeah. Yeah. Never assume that I know that you know anything. Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah. And you should just always plan to do that for every short answer you ever write ever. Especially in a communication class, an English class, anything humanities related. Yeah. Now, the reflection assignment, on the other hand, is a videoed assignment. It should be less than 3 minutes, definitely not more than 5 minutes. And this is your one chance to practice some public speaking. I'm the only person that's going to watch it. And you need to talk about in 10 years, what do you hope to have accomplished? What skills have you used considering yourself 10 years from now from this course in your personal life and your career? And if you could give yourself any 3 pieces of advice, looking back at yourself today, what advice would you give yourself? Okay, so short and sweet. It should be videoed. If you have any issues with video taping, please ask me first before looking at any alternatives. Cool? Yeah, okay, good. Hi, Dana.
Hi, I'm so sorry I was late.
Oh, that's okay. No, it's all good. I'm just so pleased to see so many people here. It's wonderful. So now let me get to the PowerPoint presentation, because what's a live class without a PowerPoint? So we're actually going to start by watching a short video of an interview, and we're going to use that to guide our discussion. And of course, there's an ad before it.
I thought they were cousins. Look at me. John?
Sorry, I'm late. Are you Susan? I'm here for the job interview.
Hi, I'm Susan Thompson, Resource Manager. You're 10 minutes late.
The traffic was terrible.
Have a seat. Are you John Hill?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me about yourself.
My main hobbies are watching classical movies, riding my motorcycle, and I have 2 granddaughters. They're so cute. Let me show you.
Oh, that's okay. I'll take your word for it. Do you have a resume?
I turned it in with my application.
Okay. All right, it says here.
Look, I found them. Aren't they adorable? And wait, there's my dog. Isn't that cute?
Very cute. It says here that you only had your last job for a couple of months. Can you tell me why it was so short?
You know, I hated that place. My supervisor was such a jerk. All he did was complain about my work.
Oh, what was the problem?
Oh, they had all these rules. I followed the most important ones the best I could, but he would get mad if I didn't follow all the rules all the time.
I see. Well, can you tell me why you want to work here?
Oh yeah, somebody told me you guys have a really good dental policy. I've got trouble with this tooth right here. It needs a lot of work.
Okay, I think I've heard enough. Do you have any questions for me?
You know, what does this place do?
Well, we have a restaurant and we make frozen desserts that are shipped all across the country.
Cool.
Well, it's been nice meeting you.
Well, now when will I know if I get the job?
We'll make phone calls tomorrow.
Okay, see you later.
See ya.
Her face says it all. Okay, so what do we think about this?
That was hard to
That was
watch.
horrible.
Horrible.
That guy was not ready at all for that interview.
No, he sure wasn't. So off the top of your head, like what are the first things that you notice?
He was late. He was chewing gum.
He wasn't
He was
dressed.
not dressed for an interview.
He was all over the place.
Yeah, he didn't have his resumes ready.
Now, would you ever show someone your teeth on the first meet?
No.
Gosh, no.
I actually have bad teeth myself, and it's one of my biggest insecurities. And I try to avoid, like, I cover my mouth when I'm talking a little bit, like not like fully cover it, but like I'll take a finger and put it over that side of my mouth just to kind of try and hide it a little bit without being not like nonchalantly hide it.
Yeah.
I totally get it, Ashley. I totally get it.
Yeah. Or even like I went to the chiropractor today and I was hyper focused on just making sure my breath smelled good while she's bending over me, adjusting my neck. Right. Yeah. So you're not.
Yeah.
Alone. Okay, good. So yes, you are on point. You recognize so many things. So let's use this interview to walk through preparing to interview and actually doing the interview and then an exit strategy for the interview. So first, let's just talk about just selecting the employer. I think sometimes we're so hungry for a job, which is valid, but that we would be willing to take any job we could possibly find. And the reality is that you're coming out of school and you have the opportunity, hopefully, to feel like you can be a little bit more selective about the employer that you decide to even try to work with. So before the application, there's 3 things that you should really be researching. So you need to research yourself and just sit down and have a concrete moment where you list pros and cons, you list all the things that you've done. And a lot of this is highlighted on your resume, but then it's the stuff that you really want to make sure that you're square on and that you know about yourself. Do I feel comfortable with what will be required of me? Can I say that, yes, I can code in this way, or I can demo a class in a particular way? Am I an introvert? Would it be better for me to work with a small company in a small group? Or am I extroverted and just really thrive on lots of meetings and getting together with a lot of people? Should I be looking for a larger company? So understand who you are as an applicant. And then make sure that you really understand the position that you are applying for. Some positions are general requirements, so you may not know everything that you want to know, but you can do some Googling and some digging around to see what all is involved in the position. Are you really going to like it? And the employer, how long have they been in business? What is their company culture like? If there's any way you can possibly visit with someone who works there, find out what it's like. Decide what kind of company culture do you want. Do you want like an individualistic culture where it's like you get your job and you go home? Or is it really less about you and more about the company? I remember coming out of undergraduate school and and I was like, I want a job. I'm ready. I want a job. So this job came up back on, gosh, what were we using then? Was it Monster that was doing jobs that you would look for resumes? Anybody remember that?
Yes, it was Monster.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, Monster. So I have this bachelor's of science in business. I'm like, I can do marketing. I can do PR. So an ad came across for a lingerie company. And I was like, I can do it. And then, of course, the chair of the program, I show her this job and she looks at the job and she looks at me. She looks at the job and then she looks at me, having worked with me for the last 4 years. And she's like, do you really think you want to work for a place like that? I was like, I guess not. I just want a job. But, just making sure that you would really fit there and that you would enjoy what you were doing. So learn from my experience. Do you have any ideas about selecting the employer that you would want to share? Any questions? I'm sensing a no. That's okay. All right. So let me move on then. Okay. So once you get your foot in the door and you get this interview, there are lots of different types of interviews, but let me just boil this down to the top 3. They can occur individually or they can kind of occur together, but at least during different points in the interview, you will understand what is happening in that moment. So the first type is the behavioral interview. That is usually the first interview that you are going to do when you get interviewed by an employer. This is where you're going to be asked about past experiences. They're going to be asking you for examples of how you behave in particular situations. They're going to ask about your skill set. Well, what would you do in this? Are you familiar with Microsoft Excel? And that's an example. I don't know if you need to know Microsoft Excel, but can you do these different programs? What kind of knowledge do you have in this area? Tell me a little bit about your work with social exchange theory and just kind of getting an idea for what you can actually do in your behaviors. The next kind of interview moves beyond behaviors and it looks at actual technical skills. So if you happen to be really any of the fields that you are doing, remind me, paralegal, health information systems, do I have exercise in here today? Anybody doing exercise? Are you mostly paralegal, everybody who's here?
I'm paralegal.
Okay.
I'm paralegal.
I'm accounting.
Accounting.
I'm
Okay.
Paralegal.
Sweet. Okay. So the only thing I remember from accounting is FICO. No, FIFO.
FICO.
First in, first out.
First in, first out. You're right.
Yes.
Yeah, first in, first out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I barely remember it. Good. Okay. So let's say that you are going to interview to be a paralegal. What is something technical that they might ask you to do? I'm thinking.
No, you'll see here in a minute.
Okay, so that wasn't for me.
Sorry, guys.
Oh, that's okay. So technical interview, if you're a paralegal, maybe they will ask you to show a sample brief. Is that something that you would do as a paralegal?
Yeah, or research.
In a very specific way, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. And then accounting, what could they ask you to do for accounting? Any ideas, Chris?
No, not yet.
Not yet. So I know someone who is in accounting right now, and there's like 2 areas you can go in, like tax and then something else. So maybe they would ask you for your knowledge of tax codes, and you would have to demonstrate that. Or if you're in health information systems, can you do this different kind of coding? I'm probably most familiar with anything exercise, which none of you are, but demo a class for me. Go in and show me what you got. So we're looking that you can actually do what you say you can do. And finally, the social interview is kind of like, do you play nicely with others? Are you going to fit in here? And that will happen generally over coffee or over lunch, probably with more than one person, so you can get a feel for the team. It's usually casual, and you should also be prepared to ask questions of the interviewer as much as they're going to ask questions of you. So be brushed up on some small talk skills and be prepared, even if you already know the answers. Be prepared to ask a few questions so that you can dialogue and start to develop that mutuality of concern, some similarity, like some not like physical attraction like we talk about in the romance section of the course, but just attraction. I like you, you like me, we have things in common. Yeah, I think I would really like to work with you, and vice versa. Great comments in the chat. Very good. Now let's talk about being prepared. So we're going to the interview and we want to do our very, very best. So being prepared means that you are ready with a device called show and tell. So they're going to ask you questions and you need to have examples ready to go. And we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but you're going to use the because clause. I'm so glad you've asked me about my experience writing briefs, because one I remember in particular was X, Y, and Z. And you can use that for my class situation, since you may not already have that experience yet. And they'll know that about you. They'll know they're hiring someone fresh out of college. Or maybe you do already have some experience and you're just going to college to get the degree so that you can advance in your field. But have some because clauses, show and tell things ready to go. So again, if you didn't catch it, I'm so glad you asked me about repeat what they said to you, because I have this going on, or this has happened to me. I remember a time when, and be able to elaborate on it just a little bit. Oh, very good. Janessa says you can research online some typical behavioral type interview questions, so you have some scenarios ready to go. That's really good. And also do take advantage of the chair of your program. For those of you, I'm not familiar with the accounting program person, but those of you in paralegal, Nola, she has got some history in this field. Have anyone been able to visit with her at all?
I love Nola.
Oh, she's great. Ask her for her stories. Ask her to tell you about being working as an attorney. I think she has got she has been in the trenches. So it's so great that you get to work with her. I'd like to sit down and just talk with her. So that's cool.
She's great.
Good. I'm glad that you like it. So a little more on preparation. We need to dress the part. So what did this guy do horribly wrong?
He came in with his, looks like what he wears on Sunday to ride his motorcycle around or something.
Yeah, he definitely does.
Like he just left the bar or something. He just walks in.
He's very casual for an interview.
Right? Okay, now let's review and see what she's dressed like. So is she dressed like to the hilt?
I think she looks fine
she's
for office wear.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I want to point out, is that she's definitely business casual. She has on a dress, she has on jewelry, she's put together. He is out for a Saturday, Sunday ride on his motorcycle. So make sure that you're aware of the way the company dresses. Especially if it's a law firm, depending on the clientele that you might be working with, you may have to dress like a step up from business casual to match the attorney, because you're in a working relationship with them and you're in a working relationship with the client, and you're like a first line of defense. So you want to make sure that you're dressing the part. Now there are some companies, my husband's in tech, and we lived in Phoenix at one point, and they were like, we'll kill you if you come in here with a tie. So they were expected to wear like shorts and t-shirts every day. And that's what worked for their culture. So have kind of an in trying to figure out. Now there's this 10-minute rule. So you need to be in the vicinity of the interview within 30 minutes. Okay, so do whatever you need to do to try to make sure you're there 30 minutes early in the parking lot waiting to go in. And I like this idea because if you leave with that amount of lead time, hopefully if there's an accident or you get stuck in traffic, you have time to spare that you don't have to deal with that. Also, you're going to be nervous because you care about getting the job and you want to present your best self, even if you don't get the job. And so getting there and having a few minutes in your car or in the bathroom or whatever, just to breathe, eat some chocolate if you need it. I don't know what you do to relax, but just to sit and prepare yourself, review what you're getting ready to do so that you can walk in cool and confident. That's the 30 minutes beforehand. Now, 10 minutes, you want to walk into the foyer 10 minutes before your interview. This gives you time to get a layout of the lobby, if there is one, what the office might look like. It demonstrates punctuality, which hopefully you all are very punctual people. If not, do what you need to do to fix that so you can get to places on time. And then it gives you also a chance to brush up with the receptionist just a little bit to make a good first impression. As you read in our fake scenario with a real and associates, the secretary knows everything about everyone. So make a good first impression with the receptionist or the secretary. Any questions about that?
No.
No? Okay, cool. Let's move on. Now, what about if you get a virtual interview? That is happening a lot in our virtual world in 2022. How do we handle that? So I just have a few tips and tricks for you that I think work really well. I'd like to hear from you too if you have any ideas. First of all, with the telephone interview, make sure you have a good connection and make sure you're in a place where there is no noise. I don't know. I don't think I have my phone with me, but oh yeah, I do. Also, the thing about noise is, yeah, it's a lot clearer to talk like this, but if you use a lot of nonverbals when you talk, you can feel stifled having this phone next to you and doing the interview. So if you can get to a quiet place where you can put the phone down and be heard well on speakerphone, I recommend doing that. Or if you have a headset like I see Dana wearing, where you can have the freedom to move and bend. I know some people who like to pace when they're talking on the phone because they have extra energy they need to get out. So do what you need to do for the telephone. Also, I think that's about it with the telephone, just the quiet space. So if you have to do it in your home and you have animals or children or other people running around, get them to a place where they're completely entertained, give the dog a bone so that they're not bugging you or barking. So now the video digital, this is a great opportunity for them to be able to see you. And one of the things that is so distracting is having a bunch of stuff going on behind you, which I have. So if I was actually going to be doing an interview right now, I would definitely blur my background and use a filter. And personally, I really prefer just the blended filter that just makes everything blurry so they can just see you. Like palm trees are fun, but they're distracting. So just blur it up a little bit. If I wasn't able to blur, if I didn't have the capability, I would definitely move to a different place, or I might even turn my computer and take a few things down, take the blanket off the back of my chair and make sure they're only focusing on me. Now, here's something else that you may not have thought of before. When you're doing a virtual interview, like right now, you guys are all on my right side. Okay. But where's my camera? My camera straight in front of me. So as much as you can, try to talk to the camera instead of talking to the faces wherever they are. Or like, can you see me moving my screen? Try to get those faces right there under your camera so that it looks like you are looking at them and making eye contact with them. Cool?
Got it.
Awesome. And again, you can wear pajamas on the bottom, but make sure you're dressed appropriately on the top.
I think everybody's doing that since, pandemic hits and they had to work from home.
Yeah, I know. The only thing about wearing pajama bottoms on the bottom, Dr. Phil used to say, if you want to keep a check on your weight, always wear jeans. Not stretchy jeans, because if your jeans don't fit, something's not going quite right. So I'm back to jeans.
When I was taking classes over at my community college, and it was right when the pandemic started, so we were doing all over Zoom classes. And one of my math teachers, he had his nice shirt on, and then he was like, stood up and he's like, oh yeah, I've got my basketball shorts on. His little nice like shirt, but with his basketball shorts.
That's awesome. Well, at least he's transparent. He feels comfortable with you. That's funny. Also, with your video digital, make sure that all the other windows are closed on your computer. You don't need a YouTube video popping up randomly in the middle of your interview. And then keep an eye on the chat. Janessa is filling it up with some awesome information. Yeah, and I would agree. I mean, I tend towards fully dressing, and I even put my shoes on even though I'm working from home because I just feel better, more put together. Now, did you know with first impressions you have 7 seconds? You're being sized up and you're sizing them up. It's mutual. 7 seconds to make a good first impression. So I think it's really important to talk about the handshake. Where are we with the handshake in hopefully what is a post-pandemic world? What are we doing with that? What are your thoughts?
A lot of people do elbow bumps still.
Okay, so that's acceptable.
I did a few interviews over the summer for jobs, and that was everybody was doing like elbow bumps or waving at you instead.
Okay, that's good to hear. Anybody else? Let's brainstorm. What if the interviewer extends their hand to you and you aren't comfortable with a handshake? How do we handle that?
That would be so awkward. I don't know how I would handle that.
Just let them
I don't know,
know.
I just stick my fist out or
Yeah.
like elbows, you know, COVID, haha.
Yeah, so
that's what I would do. Just haha, yay, yeah, okay, nice.
That's good, Casey. Yeah, because we can throw a joke in there, right?
I am plenty awkward, so I don't know. I guess people just roll with that.
Uh-huh. Yeah, or if you can see their arm moving, you can anticipate it, and then you both meet and just do paper, rock, scissors.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, honestly, I just carry hand sanitizer with me. It's like not a big deal. I would just shake their hand, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good point too. Was someone else going to jump in?
I was going to say the same thing. I would probably, my first instinct is just to shake their hand and then, you know, go wash my hands immediately after, or use hand sanitizer, what have you.
Or like if you are immune compromised, like Janessa says, or if you're caring for someone who is elderly and they're immune compromised, I think in this world, you can just self-disclose that moderately. Like, we don't need to get into all the details on the first meet and greet, but I think people have pretty much come around to understanding that and hopefully being respectful of, you know, desires and intentions. So then eye contact. So we want to have appropriate eye contact. When I was first dating my husband, you all know we're high school sweethearts. My mom told me that I should make eyes at him. And so I just stared at him like the whole time like this. I was like 14. So don't do that. Don't bore into the soul of your interviewer, but also don't look down the whole time. Just make appropriate eye contact. If they look down a little bit, you can look down, you can glance this way and that way, but do try to meet their gaze occasionally. If it starts to feel uncomfortable, you can gently look down or, you know, make a note or something like that to relieve yourself, but make eye contact. Smiling is the absolute best thing that you can do. Like eye contact, we don't want to sit and have a smile plastered on our face the entire time, but smile and be happy. Even if you feel rotten, be happy. Do not be negative. Like our guy in the interview, oh, I got this tooth that's killing me. I'm be like, oh my goodness, he's going to be so needy. I would never hire him. So smile and be poised. So let's talk about what poise looks like. How should you sit in your chair for an interview, do you think?
Sit up straight, have good posture.
Upright.
Yeah, upright, good posture. Take your cues a little bit from the interviewer. So if they seem relaxed, try to relax a little bit. If you have, what about nervous habits? What should we do with nervous habits like twirling our hair, tapping on our desk? What do you think?
Refrain from any of that.
Yeah, try to stop doing that. Try to pause. If you, you know, like if you're a texture person and you're wearing something that like could even just help you every now and then, you know, pull your suit jacket, or you could switch positions. Ladies and gentlemen, I would refrain from crossing your legs at the knee. I know that it's really comfortable and that's the way that I sit all the time, but it makes you vulnerable to moving your foot. And that's not what we want to do. So try to cross at the ankle or you know, sit square if you can, and just try to make sure that you're breathing. Okay. Any questions about that? Oh yeah, so the whole closed body language thing. No, if you're sitting square, it's not, because I don't have my arms like across my chest, and I don't have them in my pockets or anything. Try to keep open. The more open you can be in your shoulders and your arms, even extending gestures here and there projects confidence rather than keeping things nice and short. Good question. During the meeting, like we said, keep smiling, be positive. And I just want to point out, so this is definitely a sketch that they're doing, because look at the books in the background. I think this must be an educational facility, because that doesn't look like frozen food restaurant material to me. Just saying. Just a little bit more about during the interview. Respond with questions using the because clause. Make sure that you ask questions. And at the end of it, establish next steps. So if they don't say, well, we'll call you, you can respond by saying, wonderful, I'm so glad that you're going to call me. Do you know when I might be able to expect that call? Or do you have any other candidates that you're interviewing? Are they going to tell you by next week? Don't leave without knowing that you have some next steps established. It also shows the interviewer that you're invested and that you want to know and that you're here, even if you don't want the job. So, I mean, even if you get there and you're like, I will hate this job and I don't like you. Fake it till you make it. Okay. Like, be there and be happy and act like you want it, because you don't know who the interviewer knows, who else they're talking to, what other circles they run in. And this network that we have is actually really small for as big as it is. So don't burn any bridges during the interview. And then if you decide you don't want the job and it's offered to you, you can decline it respectfully and politely rather than doing it during the interview. Post-interview, let's send a thank you. What do you think about thank you notes? When I was looking for jobs 20 years ago, I sent paper thank yous, but then our whole world went digital. So what are our thoughts on an email thank you or a text thank you? What do you think?
I think an email is appropriate. I don't know about a text so much.
I've actually never heard of that, like a thank you after an interview. This is the first time I'm hearing about it.
Okay, good. Well, I'm glad to share something new. Yeah, so the thank you note shows, it demonstrates character. It gives you an opportunity to reiterate why you want the job, and a spirit of generosity and humility in the thank you. Because not only did you take your time out to meet with them, they took time out of their day. They blocked their day when they could be doing work to interview you. So the thank you is really important. I think an email is probably the best approach unless you've already established a texting relationship and you've like gone to that next level. But even that seems just a little bit too casual and comfortable. So a thank you email is probably the best idea. Janessa says, I've gotten jobs because I followed up with the email. Wasn't the best candidate, but it pushed me up and over the top. Yeah, I agree. When I interviewed for graduate school, I sent thank you notes to every single professor that interviewed me or was willing to talk to me. And I think that really helped. Also, going back to the technical interview really quick, it is okay not to be the best at everything. Like, people don't always want to hire someone who knows it all or thinks they know it all. It's okay to say, I'm familiar with this and I'm so excited to learn more. I'm ready to get to work. So let's see here. Where are we? I think we might be wrapping up. Yeah, that's it. Those are my top tips for interviewing, for just giving you a quick refresher for some of you on what you should do when you interview. And, keep in mind, I'm your communication instructor. So even after this class, if you want to hit me up, if you have an interview coming up and you have questions, or you want me to look through some stuff or even practice with you, I'm available. I can help you. And I know we've got a great career support team too, and tutors who are available, but we want to see you succeed. Yeah. Any questions before I let you go?
No questions.
Yeah. Okay, good. Well, thank you for your time on a Friday. I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend. And I look forward to talking with you over on Yellow Dig.
Thanks, Kim.
You're
Thank you so
welcome.
much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks so much.
Have a
Have a
good
good
weekend.
weekend.
Bye,
You too.
guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.